The 2020 MotoGP World Championship kicked off here in Jerez 7 days ago, and today it sets the stage once more as we bring you the Red Bull Grand Prix of Andalusia. The world champion is out, and it's time for the rest to make hay as the sun shines here in Spain. It's a hot one in MotoGP. The Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto, 13 corners, 5 of them left, 8 of them right. Again, the lap record was smashed yesterday morning. Maverick Vinales took the honours, but the best race lap still belongs to Marc Marquez from last year, a 38.051. Overtaking hot spots here then. Great one into the final corner, turn 13. That's what it's all about, and this was last week when Fabio Quartararo went through on Jack Miller. Coming up in a few moments, Fabio Quartararo is on pole once more and hunts for another 25 points. Maverick Vinales wants to show who's boss at Yamaha. He'll start from second. Pecco Bagnaia can smell a maiden podium. And starting from fourth, can Rossi return to the top 3 steps? Good afternoon and welcome to Jerez in southwestern Spain for the Red Bull Grand Prix of Andalusia. The first time we've ever had an Andalusian Grand Prix, and there is the green and white flag of Andalusia flying proudly as we get ready for this race that is going to be a real test, let's be honest. 25 lap race coming up for MotoGP as we kick off round 2 for them. 2 races in 7 days to kickstart 2020. Temperature's already up to 36, and we're hearing that it could be up to 38 by the time they finish the race. Already, the track temperature up to 57 degrees Celsius, which is insane. Steve Dane, Matt Burt and Simon Crafar then to talk you through the main event. No Marc Marquez, so it's all eyes on Super Fabio. Pole last week, first ever race win. He's listening to the tunes, keeping himself calm at the moment. He's on pole again. And he's looked cool as a cucumber all weekend, and his pace looks great. He has to be bookie's favourite coming into this one, Matt. It
does look like it's going to be another Yamaha showdown between that young man Fabio Quartararo and Monster Energy Yamaha rider Maverick Vinales. Last weekend, 7 days ago, in famous fashion, Fabio Quartararo became the 8th youngest rider to win in MotoGP. France's first Premier Class winner since Regis Laconi in Valencia in 1999. This was yesterday after taking that pole position. 4 poles in a row now for the Petronas Yamaha man. First Yamaha rider to do that in the Premier Class since Jorge Lorenzo 10 long years ago, back in 2010. I'd love to know what tune he's getting psyched up for. Valentino Rossi then comes into the back of the factory Yamaha garage. Better so far for Rossi compared to last weekend when he really struggled in those hot conditions. He said yesterday he's expecting the longest, toughest and hottest Grand Prix potentially of his MotoGP career, and he's been in quite a few, hasn't he, Valentino Rossi? A podium threat, though, you have to say. In 4th place, he starts ahead of Miguel Oliveira and Franco Morbidelli, although that, in many respects, is one of the major talking points of the weekend. For the first time in MotoGP since 2013, we will not see the number 93, the famous 93, Marc Marquez line up for a MotoGP race.
Get well soon. Thanks for the show, as always. Yes, Marc Marquez will be missed, that's for sure, because he always puts on a show, and he put on one yesterday. Returning to action. That's the crash from last week, 7 days ago in the race. Then he had the surgery. Look at this.
Oh, that is making me wince. I can't look at that.
Broken arm, 50 push-ups. Then he sits on a bike just to make sure everything feels all right. Gets back to the circuit, temperature good. Sits out Friday.
That's on Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. 4 days after he's fractured that humerus bone in his right arm in a 100-mile-an-hour high side. This was yesterday after FP3 when he did 18 laps in the morning session, another 10 laps in the FP4 session. Thought everything was okay, and then he went out at the start of Q1 and there was a big swelling all of a sudden started on around his right elbow region, a lot of inflammation, and then it was pinching a nerve and he just all of a sudden lost power. No choice but to withdraw, but he said if he hadn't tried, being the great champion he is, he would not have been able to have slept last night. He'd have regretted it for the rest of the season. Having produced such heroics, we wish Mark well in his recovery. Can't wait to see him back fighting, hopefully in Brno in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, here. Can't argue with that one bit. That does mean, of course, that opportunity knocks Pecco Bagnaia on the front row for the first time in MotoGP. Just chatting there to Christian Gabarini. Genuinely believes he's got a good podium shout. Faded, didn't he, last week whilst in a similar position?
Yeah, couldn't quite get long life out of that front tyre last weekend. We heard so many riders in those baking hot conditions in Jerez last weekend struggle with front tyre grip. Quite a few riders, of course, were caught out losing the front end in those hot conditions. Andrea Dovizioso, well, it's been a very, very difficult return to Jerez for the Italian. Light at the end of the tunnel after an encouraging performance in this morning's warm-up session. We heard Simon Crafar talking to team boss Davide Tardozzi. They feel like some radical setup changes have helped Dovizioso, but he's got work to do. He's way, way down, middle of the 5th row of the grid in 14th place. Brad Binder, well, he's eating a banana. Hopefully he's going to go bananas very, very soon, isn't he? Yeah, you've been rumbled, Brad, just getting a pre-race snack.
He's probably thinking, what are the chances of the cameras coming to me as I try and down this banana before I go out on circuit? He's been spectacular all weekend, yep. Brad Binder. Just his second Grand Prix he'll be entering shortly. And what about this man? He's been smiling all weekend, Maverick Vinales. Just missed out on pole position yesterday. He went into the green, didn't he? And just out of track limits, but he looks a very happy and confident chap.
He's got the look, the demeanour of a man who just is in a good place in his life and in his career. You can just tell Maverick Vinales trusts that Yamaha have put a bike underneath him now that he can fight for the win in every Grand Prix. That's all he's been asking for. The Yamaha's been too up and down over the last few years, not consistent in hot conditions, flashes of brilliance here and there. Now, Maverick Vinales is confident that M1 can help him realise his boyhood dream of being MotoGP world champion. I mean, when was the last time you saw Maverick looking so chilled, so calm and relaxed pre-race in his pit box? That was yesterday, right at the end of qualifying. Fabio Quartararo had the taken pole with a 37.007. Maverick Vinales thought this lap he was on was going to be good enough to take pole. It was. The only problem was, of course, that little off-track excursion onto the green paint meant that his lap time, quite rightly, was scrubbed off. He settled for second on the front row of the grid, and at least he hasn't got to contend with Marc Marquez this weekend. Look at this.
I know, it's incredible, isn't it? But will that smile be wiped off by Fabio Quartararo? They will be teammates next year in these colours next year, don't forget, and already bragging rights up for grabs here today. Smiling also is Jack Miller. You know, great ride last week. Lost feeling in his right hand in the latter stages. That cost him a podium, but he finished 4th. He starts today from 7th. Pace on paper, not looking necessarily as strong as he was last week, but we believe, Matt, there's going to be quite a big dogfight here for 3rd place in general.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the performance of the weekend, you've got to say that Fabio Quartararo and Maverick Vinales in race pace have got the advantage. If those two can get away cleanly, then it looks like it will be a straight shootout between the pair of them. Don't think Maverick Vinales is going to run that soft Michelin front tyre like he did last weekend. And then it looks like, yeah, like you say, Steve, a massive dogfight with Bagnaia involved. Oliveira, what can he do? The best KTM in 5th place. That's a career best MotoGP. And what about this man, Valentino Rossi?
Well, it would be great to see him on the podium again. Well, it's been a while.
How much stick did he take last weekend when he had that mechanical problem on the M1? Everybody thought, you know, hot conditions, he was nowhere near the top 6. He just quit on his stall, shut the thing down and gave up. Absolute garbage, rubbish, as we mentioned before. 4th yesterday, although we do have to say that mechanical for Rossi last weekend in the Spanish Grand Prix has given a hint at some issues behind the scenes for the factory Yamaha boys. They've limited, dropped down from 7 to 5 engine in their allocation for this season, a shortened season from 20 to 13 races, and clearly the engine list was revealed, engine allocation list revealed a couple of days ago, and Yamaha are in trouble. Vinales and Rossi have already sent one engine back to Iwata for inspection, the one that was obviously damaged last week, and it looks like they've all already used most of the allocation. Now, if you're fighting for the World Championship, you have to take a 6 engine. You're starting from the pit lane.
Yeah, that would be a disaster, wouldn't it? And they are going to be fighting for the championship. Certainly Maverick Vinales will be. Just saw their track temperature already up to 60 degrees. When we get Simon, I do want to catch a word with him, actually, just to see what it feels like out there. Because, I mean, it's been hot in general for the last 2 weeks, but today it just feels like it's going to be the ultimate test. Here's Taka Nakagami. He's had a very good weekend. It could have got even better yesterday, but for a crash at the last corner in qualifying whilst on a hot lap. He'll start from 8th, but do not discount Taka Nakagami from the podium charge.
Yeah, the team certainly think, it admits to LTR Honda, think he's got top 6 pace at the very least. Having used some Marc Marquez data to improve in the braking areas, Franco Morbidelli, again, yet another top 6 qualifying for Morbidelli yesterday, although he's going to have to contend with some rapid Ducatis ahead of him and behind him. And we saw what happened last weekend for Morbidelli and certainly Polispargo's KTM. It's a brutal experience when you're trying to overtake the Ducati in this kind of heat. You can have problems with your front tyre temperature and pressure. The start, then those first laps, is going to be crucial for the likes of Rossi and Morbidelli if they are to figure in the podium battle. They can't afford to get mired and stuck in a Ducati traffic jam.
Valentino Rossi exits pit lane. No podium since Austin last year, remember. There's Franco Morbidelli. He's got the pace for podium, there's no doubt, as has Joan Mir. But Mir has got work flying the flag for Suzuki, isn't he, today? Joan Mir, they had a disaster last week. By the way, both of the riders that come into this one injured, we wish them well in this. This is going to be a tough day at the office for Cal Crutchlow and Alex Rins. I'm presuming Alex Rins is starting the race. We'll keep an eye on it. I'll be surprised if he finishes it, because he looked in agony.
Well, there you go. You can see it crystal clear there. That yellow-banded Michelin front tyre for Maverick Vinales. He's not going soft this weekend, that's for sure. Gambled with his teammate Valentino Rossi on the soft front tyre last weekend, and pretty much from the get-go, certainly in the first 6 or 7 laps, he was having big...
Vinales was second. That's your top 3. Quartararo, 50 from a possible 50 in our 2-week spell here in Jerez. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody that has made this possible, and all the folk you don't see behind the scenes. All of the officials, Dorna, IRTA, FIM, and everybody that's made this possible. Jerez and Andalusia is done. We'll see you in Brno for those of you who are tuning out now, but stay with us after the flag coming soon.